There are practices that look profitable on paper and still feel constantly on edge. Payroll clears, but just barely. Distributions feel risky. Hiring decisions get delayed. Big expenses create anxiety instead of confidence. And despite doing well, leadership always feels like they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. That feeling usually has nothing to do with profit. It has everything to do with cash flow. Cash flow tells the truth in a way no other financial statement does. Revenue tells you what you earned. Profit tells you what's left after expenses. But cash flow tells you whether you're actually safe and what the next 12 months are likely to feel like. Welcome to Medical Money Matters, the podcast where you can find experts, answers, and resources so that you can achieve mastery over the financial and business aspects of your practice. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Jill Arena. I began my career in accounting and finance, and I have more than 30 years of experience running medical groups. I own and operate a national healthcare consulting and revenue cycle company, and I am the author of Physician Heal Thy Financial Self. In 2020, I co-founded the Physician Leadership Project, and in 2025, I released Physician's Edge, the first of its kind, CME-accredited online business education for physicians. My passion is to increase financial and business literacy for physicians. Episode 171. Cash flow tells the truth. What your financials are saying about your next 12 months. There are practices that look profitable on paper and still feel constantly on edge. Payroll clears, but just barely. Distributions feel risky. Hiring decisions get delayed. Big expenses create anxiety instead of confidence. And despite doing well, leadership always feels like they're waiting for the other shoe to drop. That feeling usually has nothing to do with profit. It has everything to do with cash flow. Cash flow tells the truth in a way no other financial statement does. Revenue tells you what you earned. Profit tells you what's left after expenses. But cash flow tells you whether you're actually safe and what the next 12 months are likely to feel like. Today, we're talking about what your financials are saying about your future, why cash flow forecasting is one of the most underused leadership tools in medicine, and why having 3 forecasts, not just one, is what separates confident practices from reactive ones. Most practices spend a lot of time looking backward. They review monthly financials. They compare this year to last year. They track whether collections are up or down, and then they make decisions based largely on hope, hoping trends continue, hoping volume stays strong, hoping nothing unexpected happens. The problem is that historical financials are descriptive, not predictive. They tell you what already happened. They don't tell you what's coming. And leadership is not about reporting. It's about foresight. This is where cash flow forecasting changes the conversation. A cash flow forecast is a forward-looking view of cash in and cash out over time. It shows when money is expected to arrive, when it's expected to leave, and where pressure points are likely to occur. What it is not is a guess. It's not a budget. And it's not an attempt to predict the future with precision. Instead, it's a planning tool that helps you understand ranges, timing, and risk. Many practices avoid forecasting because it feels complex or uncomfortable. Physicians are trained to deal with facts, not hypotheticals. There's often a belief that uncertainty is something to avoid, not to engage with. But here's the counterintuitive truth. Forecasting doesn't create uncertainty. It reveals it. And once uncertainty is visible, it becomes manageable. When practices start forecasting cash flow, decision-making changes almost immediately. Hiring discussions become calmer. Compensation planning becomes more intentional. Capital purchases are evaluated in context instead of isolation. Instead of asking, "Can we afford this?" leaders start asking, "When does this make sense?" And under what conditions would this become risky? That shift from reactive to intentional is where real stability comes from. The time frame matters as well. We recommend looking at cash flow over a rolling 12-month window. 12 months is long enough to capture seasonality, payer timing, staffing changes, and operational initiatives. It aligns with how long it actually takes for decisions to fully show up in the numbers. Shorter views miss the bigger picture. Longer views become too abstract. 12 months is where insight lives. Now, here's where many practices go wrong. They build one forecast, one version of the future, one set of assumptions, one outcome they anchor to. And that's dangerous, because a single forecast creates false certainty. It encourages overconfidence when things are going well and panic when reality diverges from the plan. Instead, the most effective approach is to model 3 scenarios. We often introduce this as the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's memorable, it's honest, and it reflects how leaders actually think. More formally, we call them the assertive, the expected, and the defensive forecasts. The names matter because the tone matters. The assertive scenario is the good. This is the future where things go well, volume grows, new initiatives succeed, staffing stabilizes, payer issues are minimal. It's not fantasy, it's a plausible upside. This forecast is useful. It helps practices plan growth. It supports decisions about hiring, expanding services, or investing in infrastructure. But it becomes dangerous if leaders assume this is the only future worth planning for. You're listening to Medical Money Matters, a weekly podcast brought to you by Healthy Practices, a healthcare consulting and revenue cycle company dedicated to keeping our clients independent. If you're looking for more ways to strengthen your business skills, check out Physician's Edge, our mini MBA online course designed to help physicians master the financial side of their practice. You can find that and more about how we support practices like yours at healtheps.com. That's www.healtheps.com. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss a new episode. The expected scenario is the bad. But bad here doesn't mean failure. It means reality. This is the most likely outcome given current trends: modest growth or stability, normal disruptions, a mix of wins and challenges. This is the forecast that should guide most day-to-day decisions. Compensation planning, distributions, routine hiring, and expense management all live here. Practices that don't have a clear expected forecast often oscillate between optimism and fear because they lack a grounded baseline. Then there's the ugly. This is the defensive scenario, and this is where many leaders get uncomfortable. The defensive forecast models what happens if things soften. Volume dips, a provider leaves, staffing costs rise, reimbursement tightens. Nothing catastrophic, just pressure. This scenario is not about being pessimistic. It's about being prepared. Defensive planning doesn't create fear. It creates confidence. When you know what actions you would take if conditions change, you stop reacting emotionally. You stop delaying decisions out of anxiety. You lead more calmly because you already understand your options and know your contingent moves. One of the most powerful moments we see with practices is when leaders realize that even in their defensive scenario, they're still viable with the right adjustments. That realization changes everything. These 3 forecasts are not competing predictions. They're decision frameworks. They allow you to stress test choices before making them. What happens if we hire now versus in 6 months? What if collections lag for a quarter? What if we delay that equipment purchase? Cash flow forecasts turn those questions into concrete answers. They also improve timing decisions. Many practices don't make bad decisions. They make well-intentioned decisions at the wrong time. Forecasting helps leaders align actions with capacity. It answers not just should be, should we, but when should we? Of course, forecasting only works if assumptions are realistic. Common mistakes include overly optimistic volume projections, ignoring the timing of collections, forgetting about capital expenditures, or treating the forecast as static. Forecasts are not meant to be defended, they're meant to be updated. As new information comes in, assumptions change. That's not failure, that's leadership. At Healthy Practices, we use cash flow forecasting as a core part of how we help practices remain sustainable. Across hundreds of practices, we've seen the same pattern repeat. The practices that feel most stable are not the ones with the highest revenue. They're the ones with the clearest view of the future. They understand their cash flow under multiple scenarios. They know where pressure points exist, and they've already thought through their responses. Forecasting becomes a conversation about options instead of outcomes. And that's the real value. Cash flow doesn't just tell you where you stand today, it tells you what your next 12 months are likely to feel like before you get there. If you're leading a practice and you don't have that visibility, you're not alone. Most don't. But once you do, it becomes very hard to imagine leading without it. Cash flow tells the truth. The question is whether you're listening, and whether you're listening to just one version of the future or to the full range of possibilities. Until next time. You can find more information online at medicalmoneymatterspodcast.com, and you can sign up to be notified when enrollment opens for the Medical Money Matters e-learning program for a mini MBA physician style, which will carry CME credits and will be released in upcoming months. In that, we'll do an even deeper dive so you can understand dynamic budgeting strategies, cash flow forecasting, and other more esoteric financial concepts. We've included those links in the show notes. As I like to close out these podcasts, congratulations on taking the next step in your professional development and for making the commitment to learn about the financial and business aspects of your practice. I look forward to being on this journey with you and send you my heartfelt gratitude for all that you do for your patients all day, every day.